Hello and welcome to the 51%, a show about women reshaping our world. I'm Yenna Lee standing in for Annette Young. Coming up. US soccer pledges equal pay for the national men's and women's teams. This after the latter took them to court and won millions in back pay. Rights groups in India fight to criminalise marital rape. We bring you a report on survivors demanding that abusers be held accountable. And finally, women in Mosul are neutralising mines. The explosive devices were strategically placed for maximum damage by the Islamic State group. First, the US Soccer Federation has promised equal pay for the men's and women's national teams after reaching a settlement with the latter. Footballers had sued for discrimination, a battle led by World Cup winning athletes Megan Rapinoe, Alex Morgan and their teammates. The deal means that players will pocket $22 million in back pay. It's a landmark decision that could pave the way to correct the gender pay gap in sports. Peter O'Brien has the story.
It was an end-to-end game, but after 6 years, the US women's national team have won. US Soccer are handing them $22 million, distributed as the players see fit, subject to court approval, and they're promising that they'll be paid equally to the men's team when they next enter contract negotiations.
It is a huge win for us, for women's sports, for women in general, and it's a moment that we can all celebrate right now.
In 2020, a court in California rejected the women's team's claim that they earned less than the men, finding instead that they earned more both as a whole and per match since 2015. During that time, the women had won 2 World Cups and managed to negotiate higher salaries than they had before. Meanwhile, the men's players, who have larger bonuses per game but no annual salary, performed badly on the pitch, failing to even qualify for the World Cup. If the women had been on the men's model during this time frame, they would have earned far more. It's not clear what equal pay will look like exactly when both national teams come to the negotiating table, but star player Megan Rapinoe is convinced it'll mean a brighter future for the women.
The players coming up next will have a much better ability to just play. And with that comes, them probably being way better than we ever were. That's kind of the goal.
US Soccer joins the governing bodies of England, Brazil, Australia and Ireland, which have also committed to equal pay for their women's teams.
Turning our attention next to India, a loophole in the penal code states that rape within marriage is not against the law if the wife is over 14 years old. 2 rights organisations have filed a petition at New Delhi's High Court seeking to criminalise marital rape, but the move has polarised public opinion. Some people argue it's an attack on men's rights. The nationalist government is also opposed to the idea. Our correspondents sent us this.
It is a rare testimony. One of a woman who has been raped multiple times by her husband. Anita Sarkar, 30, has agreed to tell us a story. An ordeal that lasted 10 years.
He used to sexually assault me all the time, and if I dared to say no, he would beat me endlessly. He forced me to have sex with him every day. He would lie on me and forcefully remove my clothes. Then he would pull me towards him even if I was saying no, and he would force me to kiss him. What happened to me was rape. When you say no, it's called a rape. And that's what he was doing to me. Even though I was saying no, he didn't care.
Her marriage was mired in abuse, but her husband was never held accountable. Since Indian law does not recognize marital rape, she hasn't been able to file a complaint.
If the government passes a law, I would definitely file a complaint against him. He caused me a lot of pain without any reason, and then he divorced me.
Anita's story is not unique, even though rape is a crime in India. An exception in the penal code stipulates that rape within a marriage cannot exist. 2 women's rights organizations have filed a petition to New Delhi's High Court in order to get rid of that law and to criminalize marital rape. Action India has been helping women who have suffered sexual abuse for more than 4 decades. They provide legal aid, but more importantly, they give them a space to talk and get moral support.
We live in a society where women aren't allowed to think for themselves. Here, your husband can force you to have sex with him, and we have no right to call it rape.
Marital rape remains a taboo. In a society which still considers that meeting the husband's sexual demands is part of the wife's marital duty.
When women come here, they have no idea what happened to them. But after talking to us, they're able to put their trauma into words and are able to talk about it more easily. It's really difficult for Indian women to leave their marriage. There's a huge social pressure that prevents them from doing so. They've been taught that their husband is the only important thing in their marriage.
The debate on marital rape has a wide resonance in Indian society, but it is also met with a lot of resistance. At the beginning of the hearings at the High Court, the hashtag #MaritStrike was trending on Twitter for more than a week. A tag launched by men who say they refuse to marry to protest against any change. They fear that criminalizing marital rape would push women to make baseless criminal charges against them.
Let's see.
Swarup Sarkar is a retired engineer. He is at the source of this hashtag.
When you talk about the consent and will of the wife, you must have to consider the consent and will of husband too. A lot of time husband also accommodate. Sometimes husband is not feeling well or tired from the office. Wife want physical relations. Maybe husband not in willing, but he also accommodate. Now, oh, my wife wants, so let do it. Are you going to term a wife rapist if she violates the consent and will of husbands?
The Indian government has been outspoken in its opposition to the change in the law, arguing that it was an attack on the institution of marriage. But for many women's rights organizations, it's a sign the government refuses to tackle marital rape.
And finally, we head to Iraq. One step at a time, a group of women has been carefully feeling out explosive devices to destroy them in order to keep locals safe in the Mosul region. The mines are deadly reminders of the Islamic State group who had occupied their land for years. Luke Schrago has more.
Gearing up and listening to last-minute instructions before heading into danger. Noor heads up a particular kind of team. 5 women and 1 man, with a job to clear mines across Iraq's Mosul region in their thousands, left behind by the Islamic State group after its defeat in 2017.
This way and this way, no, it's very dangerous because we have many IED.
And it's not just improvised explosive devices, but unexploded ordnance too, like these shells. Noor and her team have been trained by a Swiss foundation active in mine clearance.
If you hear this,
and they know exactly what to look for.
and this, we make sure in this the IED.
Noor was once a lawyer, Dalal a housewife. But as the war against the Islamic State group upended both Mosul and the lives of those who lived there, new paths have had to be found. In the team's case, literally. They've been mapping out the location of mines for the last 2 years, a job normally reserved for men.
At the beginning, when they said mines, I was afraid. But with our training, we understood it was a closely supervised job, and I am no longer worried. It's a difficult job, but I am proud to do it to help my country. It gives me confidence, and I feel I am asserting myself as a woman.
Another part of the job is liaising with the local inhabitants. They've been forced to live with the threat the mines pose every single day.
فأنتوا وقتها أكيد راح تصير الموضوع كلش آمن، تقدرون تاخذوا راحتكم، اللي عنده الأراضي هناك يقدر يزرعها.
Long after the physical war ended, another battle is still playing out. A psychological one, with the village unable to get back to its previous existence. For the village head, a lot's riding on Noor and her team.
There have been many accidents with shepherds. We've lost entire herds. Children have been injured. The farmers haven't planted for 5 years. They don't have access to their land. When it's safe, we can start planting again. The shepherds will take their flocks back and our economy will restart in complete safety.
The team, too, have lives of their own, and for Dalal, it's time to go home to her family. She's satisfied with the work she's been doing in more ways than one. Beyond helping her country, it's a huge step forward for a woman in a nation where just 13% of women are in paid employment.
It's a small income, not a lot, but it's okay. It's enough for me to pay the bills and things I dream of, especially the house.
Dalal's husband, Abdallah, is supportive too. A civil servant, he's been pushing her to break through pre-existing thinking.
Most people in Iraq say that this work is not for women, but my wife believes in it, and I respect her. I let her do what she wants. Today our country is in crisis. The situation is hard. I think that more and more women should work to help their families.
To clear the Mosul region of mines, specialists think it'll take 10 years. The area is now one of the world's most badly mined zones.
And that's it for now. You can connect with us on Facebook, that's at France 24.51%, and on Twitter at _51%. Until our next show, bye for now.